What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling, and this is a news and commentary break. So the news that has come out continuing the fallout from Vince McMahon retiring from WWE as CEO and in general as the creative director has continued to unravel things. And as Freeman said on the classic HBO TV show The Wire, when you follow the money, you don't know where it's going to take you. Well, apparently it has taken WWE to some interesting places. In a recent report from Market Watch, this is now beyond the wrestling news sheets, WWE finds $14.6 million in unrecorded expenses made by Vince McMahon. Oh, boy. So this comes after the scandal that's come out, obviously, and now WWE is revising its statements from 2019, 2020, 2021, and the first quarter of 2022 to reflect the unrecorded expenses. They were paid by Mr. McMahon, quote unquote, personally. In a quote that comes from the 8K filings, the company also received and may receive in the future regulatory, investigative, and enforcement inquiries, subpoenas, and demands arising from, related to, or in connection with these matters. Now, this is a very potentially serious problem. And again, I'm referencing my Wrestling with Finance, putting my Wrestling with Finance cap on now from my other channel. But the issue with it is, for people who are not familiar with this kind of stuff, is that when you're using company assets for personal expenses, that can be a problem. And the question right now is, did Vince use company assets? Remember, you got shareholders. Did he use the company to make these payoffs? And at $14.6 million, that's nothing to be sneezed at. Despite all of this, amazingly enough, WWE stock has jumped 8% over the last couple of days since this whole thing has just blown up all over the news wires. Now, much of that is coming from the fact that even though the wrestling community has been talking about it for a while, with Vince retiring and having Stephanie and Nick Khan as CEOs, speculation about a sale is now going outside of the wrestling community, and now it's actually a thing that the Business Insiders are looking at and thinking that there is now a possibility with Vince stepping down. Now there is an actual talk about them trying to sell the company. Now, before, when the sales was rumored about, no one made an offer that was sufficient for WWE to take the offer. And this is, again, considering how much money was paid for UFC when they were sold, and other major comparable companies in the entertainment industry. WWE, is worth a certain amount of money, and nobody really came to them with that price. But now, with their stock price going up, Vince stepping down, and this kind of excitement again around the brand, which hasn't been there for a while, the potential of a Disney or somebody else coming in and buying WWE would be interesting. It'd be really kind of funny. Speculative. Wouldn't it be funny if Discovery wound up buying WWE, or even if I don't know if they're going to sell WWE for like $2 billion or something like that. Maybe the Khans will buy it, and you wind up with Tony Khan owning WWE. That would be crazy. And another crazy thing, because 2022 has been a year of crazy things. I remember when it wasn't that long ago where we thought Cody Rhodes leaving AEW was like the biggest story of the year, and that's been eclipsed. New Japan and AEW doing a show together. Nobody thought that was going to happen. And obviously Vince stepping down, nobody thought that was going to happen. Now with Triple H in charge of creative, some fans are very excited. Other fans like myself are a little bit cautious, because we're still remembering that WWE is still a publicly traded company, and the majority of WWE's money is not made by pleasing their fans. It is made by having content to sell to countries and to other big businesses like Peacock, NBC, Universal. That's what they're packaging. That's where most of their money comes from their financials, is the money they're making by selling their content and licensing their likenesses and all of that branding and stuff that Vince loves very much. It's very lucrative. That's where their money comes from. So I don't know I wouldn't expect Monday Night Raw and SmackDown to start looking like NXT circa 2015, but some changes are noticeable already happening in WWE. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. It's a very exciting time for WWE. I am thinking about doing a 30-day challenge where I'm going to try to go back, and it's been years since I've done this, but watch all 3 hours of Monday Night Raw for a month. And I might start that after SummerSlam and see if I can get back into the show. So I'm thinking about whether or not I want to do that. I don't have USA Network right now. I think I could probably find it on my my TV or internet package. But if I can, I might think about doing the 30-day Raw challenge and seeing if this lapsed fan can get back into WWE Monday Night Raw and if there are any significant changes with Triple H running creative now. And other news, Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega's verbal beef online is just getting crazy. So now apparently the story is that Will Ospreay, and he posted this on social media, hit the One Wing Angel in a match that he had over in the UK, I believe, or in an indie show at least. And he pulled the guy's arm up as though, to unprotect the One Wing Angel, which to this point, only one person has ever kicked out of the move. So Ospreay kind of did that as a jab at Kenny Omega. It is one of the most protected moves in the entire business. So what happened is Omega kind of got offended by it, but Kenny's kind of playing this like, I don't know why you're doing all of this stuff, despite the fact that Kenny did speak disparagingly about, in a passive-aggressive way, about Will Ospreay in an interview a couple weeks ago. So Ospreay hasn't taken to this. So Ospreay's been poking the bear. So now Ospreay put out a T-shirt about it on Pro Wrestling Tees, and within 24 hours, the T-shirt was taken down. And allegedly, Omega used his pull to get the T-shirt taken down. So Ospreay went on to Instagram and recorded this video where he just laid into them talking about how, it's interesting how, a couple years ago when you and your boys were doing it against WWE, it was fine. But when now somebody's doing it against you, then it's not cool, and you're going to use your stroke to put out cease and desist orders against people. And he's basically calling Kenny Omega a hypocrite and other things that I will not repeat here. I have a high suspicion that this is probably leading towards a match at Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny Omega is reportedly coming back to AEW pretty soon. And if he's doing that, since he wanted to be at the Forbidden Door, we know that, he said that, I would not be surprised if Kenny Omega's big return to New Japan Pro Wrestling will be at Wrestle Kingdom in January, and if that opponent will wind up being Will Ospreay, and if this is them planting the seeds for it. We don't know if this is a work or a shoot, which is the great thing about it. Ospreay insists that it's not a work, but we who knows anymore about these things. And the last bit of news today, Britt Baker has called out a former WWE Women's Champion. And recently at Comic-Con, which has been going on, she was asked several questions. And one thing she was talking about, in addition to wanting to face Sasha Banks, is that she wanted to do an intergender tag team match with her, I guess, soon-to-be fiance, or they're not married yet, but her boyfriend, her partner, Adam Cole, and them doing an intergender tag match, or intersex tag match, we should say that these days, against AJ Lee and CM Punk. And now, Britt does say that it's unlikely to happen, and if anybody's listened to AJ Lee talking about these things, especially recently on Renee Young's podcast, AJ has said that her and Punk really like to keep things separate, probably more so her than Punk, but they don't want to do that on-screen duo thing. They don't want to do the couple thing on screen, because AJ's now involved with women in wrestling and everything else, so there's a possibility of these things happening, but it's unlikely. And AJ's still pretty much fairly retired. She's been retired for a long time now, so I don't expect her to get back into the ring at any time in the near future. But you never, again in 2022, I say that, but given the Vince story, the Cody story, the AEW New Japan stories, I'm not going to say never, but right now it seems unlikely, I should say, that we're going to get an AJ Lee and CM Punk versus Adam Cole and Britt Baker match, although that would be a premier match that people would love to see. So, if it's going to move the needle and, they can convince her to do it, yeah. But they've only done an on-screen duo one time, and I think it was actually before they were actually a couple. And that was in WWE many, many years ago. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this stuff. Would you like to see AJ Lee step back into the ring and team up with her husband CM Punk to take on the King and Queen of Hearts Adam Cole and Britt Baker. What do you think about what's going on in this crazy feud between Omega and Will Ospreay online? Is it going to lead to a match at possibly Wrestle Kingdom or somewhere else? And what do you think about, despite the fact of all of this controversy surrounding Vince McMahon, WWE stock still goes up 8.5% in the middle of all of this stuff, and now there is real legitimate talk about a potential sale of the company? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and commentary here on the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.